So, do you ever have times where you put your makeup together and you think, I look amazing? I'm not even sure why, but this really works for me. And then other times you'll put a look together and just feel like something's off. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't flatter me. I just feel like I look really blah. It has to do with whether the colors that you're putting on are complementing your own colors, especially if you're using eye colors. It is a question of your coloring overall, your skin tone, your hair color, but mostly your eye color. And most women globally struggle with selecting makeup shades. So, we're going to talk about how to choose specifically eye colors, but I think it's going to help you understand just shade selection in general. But we're going to talk about eye colors today. Well, both ways. We're going to talk about eyeshadow shades based on your eye color. So, that's what we're talking about. I'm Michelle Fox. Welcome to Michelle Fox Beauty. I think this should be a really fun topic. I love things that involve color. And I've really been working a lot with the color wheel. If you're not familiar with it, you're about to be. But it just shows all of the colors of the rainbow, and it's in a wheel fashion so that you can see the color straight across from one is considered as complementary color, but there are other combinations like analogous colors. So what we're going to talk about today are the colors that complement your eyes, and then we're also going to talk about another option, which are monochromatic color combinations, which are in the same color family as your eye color. And that also works for a more subtle look, but it still is very cohesive and flattering. So the first question is, what color are your eyes? And I think that we tend to dumb it down and just say, well, my eyes are brown. But there's actually more to it. If you look closely, we all have different flecks and undertones and different colors that make up the colors of our irises. And that's what we want to really get in there and get down and dirty and see what exactly is going on in the color of our eye. Is if you have blue eyes, are they leaning more toward green or more toward indigo? If you have hazel eyes, are they green hazel, brown hazel, gold hazel? There are terms that we use that really aren't even a color. Like hazel means a combination of colors, and gray can mean different things to different people as well. So we're going to dive into all of that. I'm going to show you some examples of different eye colors, and then we're going to look on the charts, the color wheel, and see what we can see. So first, let's talk about the variety of colors and the nuances among them. So I'm going to add some things to the stream here. Brown eyes, I think we all know, are the most common, and brown is a combination of all three primary colors. Okay, so it's since they have all the colors, they work with all the colors. And yet, when you look closely at brown eyed people, you can tell that some have more golden brown or a lighter brown, and some have sort of like a ruby red brown, and some have such dark chocolate brown that you could barely distinguish the pupil from the iris. They are black brown. So there is a difference, and there are undertones that you can work with. There are some tried and true colors that work for brown eyes that we'll talk about in a sec. But don't just think that you have boring brown eyes. The opposite is true. There are lots of things that you can do with brown eyes. Blue eyes can be from green blue to pale blue to deep blue. Elizabeth Taylor had the indigo eyes. So, again, we're looking at undertone. Is it more of a warm green or more of a cool blue? And that's going to open up lots of options for us. And then, like I already mentioned, hazel is really not even a color. Hazel is a combination of colors, and there will be something dominant in there, either the gold, sometimes there's blue in there, but usually brown, green, or gold. And then gray eyes, same thing. Gray eyed people talk about how, depending on what outfit they have on, their eyes can look more blue or more brown or more green. So there is probably some undertone or some flecks in there that are going to lean a certain way. But if they're true gray, if when, without any color influence, they are gray, That is a neutral color. And so similar to brown eyes, they can wear anything, which is really nice. There is a category called amber. I would have thought this was in the hazel category, but it's a category all its own. And amber eyes always have a gold undertone without any variation. That's interesting. So maybe I don't know that I've if what I'm thinking of is exactly amber eyes or not, but when I think of amber eyes, I think there are some people that I know that when they look at me, I can't look away because their eyes are just mesmerizing. And it seems like they usually have like a ring around the amber that's a little bit darker. So I don't know if but that's not an undertone. So I think I'm thinking of the right ones. And then green eyes, similar to blue, it can be warm or it can be cool, more of an aqua. And here are the stats. Here's where you lay. Brown, 80%. But that doesn't mean we're not special. I'm brown eyed. Blue eyes, 10%, hazel, 5%. But like I said, there's all kinds of variation in there. Amber is so rare that there really aren't any stats. There's no number, there's not a percentage out there. But like I said, the true amber eyes are amber only. So that's just really interesting to me. I need to look into that more. Gray, only 3% of the world's population have gray eyes, and they can often be confused with blue eyes because there's a very, very light, cool blue that can look gray. And green is the rarest shade. I've always said green eyes were my favorite. Only 2% of the world's population have green eyes. So I don't want to bore you with a whole lot of verbiage here, but we are going to look at some examples here. And I just want to show you the wheel first. So here's the color wheel. And most color wheels are just super boring, and they just have kind of like the Roy G. Biv, just the rainbow colors. But I found one that is expanded so that it shows the darker hues, and that I think is a little easier to identify where your eye color falls, because none of us have, red or, purple or yellow eyes. It's going to be more out here where there are some, has a little more of the dark in there. So this, I think, is going to help us find where our eyes fall on this chart. And if you want your eye colors to really pop, meaning your eyeshadow, then you want to use what is called a complementary color, and that's opposite on the wheel. So if you had very, very blue eyes, then opposite is sort of like these gold and tawny browns, coppery colors right here. So that would be the color combination that would really make your eyes pop. Does that mean that that's the only thing you can wear? Of course not. But that is a great go-to if you don't know what to get. And then, of course, the colors that are nearby are going to go with it. So more golds and yellows and reds and burgundies are going to all work together. If you wanted to stay in an analogous color, something more monochromatic, you could stay right in the blue range. And if your eyes are deep blue, go with some lighter blue variations. If your eyes are light blue, then you would go with some darker blue variations. So this is really fun, but don't let it limit you. This is a guide, but it's not a limitation. And there are some suggested shades that are just have been around, for forever. Generally speaking, brown eyes, even though they can wear anything, they look great in any kind of purple, and navy and jewel green. Really, any really rich royal color looks really nice on a dark brown eye. But again, we can look for the flecks and the undertones, and we'll dive into this a little bit more. Blue eyes, just like a true blue, golden peach, coppery oranges, brown, terracotta, those kinds of shades like I showed you on the chart. Green eyes are directly across from purples. And so pink, mauve, plum, burgundy, those are going to really, really flatter. We'll come back to this in a second and show you some other thoughts, but I do want to get to my other really fun pictures. So this, of course, is just a fraction of the various eye colors, not even close to all the different eye colors, but I just wanted to start somewhere. And so I tried to even kind of put them on the color wheel where I felt they would possibly fall. And so we're going to go from there. So let's see. So these gorgeous blue eyes are a true blue. And so, like I said, anything in this true blue category is directly across from these orangey browns. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that so fast. So, colors like this are great choices. Now, when I first saw that, I thought, wow, these poor blue eyed people have these boring colors. But here's the thing is that when you're looking for the perfect eyeshadow shades, you want colors that are going to bring out your eyes. You don't want someone to say, I love your eyeshadow. You want someone to say, wow, you have got pretty eyes. You see the difference? And she's got gorgeous eyes and she's wearing these types of colors. She's got, something very similar to this on right now. So that's a true blue. These are they stunning or what? So this, gosh, I love when I see these eyes. They're like a turquoise. There's like that deep aqua blue, but then there's some gold and some green in there. So I was thinking, it probably falls to this category here, which is more across from burgundy than brown. And so I threw together some, this is like a Merlot and this is mahogany. And then I, lightened it up with like a dusty rose and something real light. But these kind of colors are going to really bring out this gorgeous turquoise shade of her eyes. This, I don't know. Are these real or are these contacts? I don't know, but they are stunning. So, this is a great example of truly green eyes. Green is right straight across from purple. A lot of people love purples. Unfortunately, purples look good on a lot of people, but purple really does flatter green eyes. So, that would be a great example there. So here's something. All right. So her eyes are very, very dark brown. But if you look closely, I expanded it and they're like a beautiful gold brown. And so I went in here and I looked and I thought, okay, so let's see what she would look like with some navy shades. And I think that these shades would look totally stunning on her. I can totally see that. And then similarly, or I guess not similarly, dissimilarly, these eyes are more of like a reddish brown. Can you see the difference? Like they're like a burgundy brown. And so I thought, okay, so if we're in this area here and we go straight down, we're talking different kinds of greens. So there's like warm green and cool green. So I put these together. This is a warm moss green and this is a cooler emerald green. And again, I think those would look great. I don't think those are the only green shades that will look great on her. And I don't think they're the only shades that will look great on her, but that's just an example of how you can use this wheel to find some colors. So now we are talking more about analogous monochromatic because dark brown eyes can wear just about anything. And I was thinking, if I had to put them somewhere on the chart, I probably put them somewhere up in here. And that was across from like golds and greens. And I don't know, that just wasn't floating my boat. So I put together some cool browns. There's like a bronze and a cinnabar and what is this? I think this might be a hot fudge or espresso, something like that. And I think that they would look fantastic on her eyes. This would be more of an analogous concept or a monochromatic concept. Like I said, you've got two choices. You can find something that's across from your eye color on the color wheel, or you can stay within your colors and then for something that's a little more subtle. So I've got a few of those to show you. So these gray eyes, I believe they are a true gray. I don't see a lot of blue in there or green. And so I think that they would look great with something like this. I think if she had on like a gray sweater and wore this, that her eyes would look so beautifully gray. Here's a little side note. Every eye color looks great in silver. So if you're looking for something with a little bit of pizzazz, silver is a great shade to play with. But on the other side of the coin, if she wanted to make her gray eyes look more blue, then if she wore more burgundies, I think that that would help bring out the blue, or more of the um, like the ambers and golds and coppers. And if she wanted her eyes to look more green, she could wear more of the purples. So that would be something fun to play with. And for sure, if she coordinated that with her outfit as well. So if she had a purple top and purple eyeshadow, her eyes are going to look more green. So that's just kind of fun. And then this is indeed Elizabeth Taylor. You can't find a lot of indigo eyes, or purple eyes, or whatever you want to call it. Violet. I guess she was called Violet eyes. But her eyes were so deep blue, such a deep, deep shade of blue, that they looked purple. They looked violet. And that was across from like golds and greens. And I thought, nope, she usually wore those same like deep, deep sort of a purpley blue colors, and it really worked for her. So I put something like that together. And so, like I said, you've got that option where you can wear something that is complementary, which would be across the wheel, or you can wear something that is monochromatic, that is just stays in that same color chart, same color area, analogous colors that work together, that are next to each other. So I put something like this together for her. I think that would look really awesome. And then these are hazel eyes. And again, like the green, or excuse me, like the gray, you could do just about anything here. So if you wanted, you can even see some red flecks in there. So there's red, there's gold, there's green, there's like a rim of either like dark green or maybe even dark brown. So you could work with any of those colors. This time, instead of going across and giving her like blues and purples, I just worked with the little flecks that are in her eyes. I thought that would be kind of fun to work with. And it looks like that's kind of what they've got going on right here. So lots and lots of options. But I think that once you understand how that works and have played with it a few times, it really helps you narrow down your colors. So I don't know about you, but I'm always drawn to the compacts, the combinations, the palettes that companies put together. And because I don't really trust myself to put things together, and I'll see them and they're, so beautiful, and I'll think, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to try. But the problem with those palettes is that you always have one that is your favorite, one shade that's your favorite. So you use that all up. There's one or two that you just don't like at all, or it's too dark. So you don't use them at all. So you purchase this palette, you run out of some, you don't use, others. And it just is kind of a waste of resources, you know what I mean? And then you have to decide, well, am I going to buy another whole palette just because I ran out of the one shade that's my favorite? So what's nice about understanding more how to put your own palette together, understanding the analogous monochromatic versus the complementary colors, really looking at the undertones, the flecks in your eyes, and considering, what am I going to be wearing, and all of these things. And you could put your own palette together. Most of the big makeup companies offer, even if they have palettes, even if they have palettes that are put together, they also offer compacts that are refillable. And that's the way to go. So you get a refillable compact. You can piecemeal, put together the shades that you like, and then the ones that you run out of, you can, refill as needed, which is so much more economical. So another thought before we part. So I found this from Mary Kay Cosmetics. It's a few more thoughts on shade selection. And these are important things to consider, that you're not just going to choose the darker colors. So for example, if I have green eyes, I'm not just going to choose a couple of dark purples. I'm going to need some other things to balance everything out. So we typically need some kind of a light, possibly shimmery. It doesn't really have to be shimmery, but we need a lighter shade to highlight. So we highlight the inner corners of our eyes, along our brow bone, and sometimes we need a light shade just to help blend some of the other shades. A balanced shade, I might, instead of calling this a balanced shade, I might call it a transition shade. But these are more neutral workhorse shades. They're kind of boring, but they do the job. And it helps us, if we want to work with a bold color, we can mix it with one of these neutrals or blend it with one of these neutrals to help it work where it doesn't look so harsh or out of place on our face. Vibrant shades, so this would be like your royal purple, royal blue. This is supposed to be like an emerald green, but it's not really that bright. But a vibrant shade adds a fun touch to the eyes. You can wear it all over your lid or just as an accent, maybe in the middle of your lid or in the outer corner. But this is your playing with shade. So like if you wanted to try something outside of your ideal colors, this is kind of a fun thing to play with. The deep dark shades, those work best as accents. That would be like in your crease or along your lash line. And then you can add it really heavy along your lash line for more of a smoky effect. So those are some things to keep in mind as you're putting your palette together. So here's your homework. Take a good look at your eyes in the mirror. And don't just think, oh, well, my eyes are brown, my eyes are blue, but really look closely. Look at the flecks and the circle around the whole iris and think about the undertone and the extra little colors that are in there. And then look at the chart that I provide in the blog and try to identify where your eye color falls and check out what your complementary shades would be, and then consider trying some shades that are in the same color family. So, for example, let's say you've always thought your eyes are brown, but upon closer inspection, you realize that you've got some burgundy flecks in there. Might be fun to try some burgundy eye colors. It might be something that you never thought of before. If you want a few more visuals, a great idea would be to just Google selecting eyeshadow based on eye color. Every company has their own interpretation of how this works, and they're going to have their own color shades that they suggest, but it just gives you some more ideas and it's just fun. I love looking at stuff like this. Here's more of the color charts. And so you might find like your favorite brand and see if they have recommendations. And so that's just an easy way to go about it. But this way, I just feel like then we've got more options and we've got a little more control, a little more power. What's the word? Let's see. It's like we are in the driver's seat and we don't have to just wait for a palette to be offered and just take it, even though we only like 3 out of the 6 shades. We can put our own palette together. So go for it. I want to see what you put together. And if you have any suggestions or if you are thinking something like, well, I've got green eyes, but actually I look really great in this, I'd love to hear it. That's fun for us to learn from one another. And next week, we're going to come back and talk about application. Studies have shown that women struggle not only with choosing their shades, but also with how to apply makeup. And so we're going to hit both sides. We're talking about the shades today, the color choices. And then next time, we're going to talk about the application and we're going to take into consideration your eye shape. So that should be a lot of fun as well. So when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, figuring out your eye color, go ahead and figure out your eye shape as well. All right. Then you'll be ahead of the curve. So I hope that you got something out of this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you can think of somebody else that would enjoy it, go ahead and share that with them. And I surely hope that you have subscribed to this channel. I do have a freebie for you. It is called 12 Tips for Perfect Eyeshadow Application. And it repeats a lot of this information, but it also gives some fresh info as well. It's just a sheet that you can have. It's a few sheets actually, but it's something that I put together a while ago. It's pretty popular. I'd love for you to have that. You can get that by going to my blog and clicking the link in my blog. And I think that's about all we need to discuss this week. I'm going to start getting ready for next week because that's going to be a big one. We're going to have, some demonstrations, and I'm going to have charts for you to keep and download and keep so that you can use that in the future. Eye shape, that's always a tricky one because I think even figuring out what your eye shape is takes a while because there are a few things to consider. We're going to talk about application, then we're going to take this information about color, and we're going to put ourselves a beautiful eye color look together. Okay. So I can't wait. And I appreciate your time and attention. I will see you next time.